This episode is brought to you by Skinny Pop Popcorn. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Oh, so light and crunchy. Skinny Pop Original Popcorn is the snack you've been searching for. Made with just 3 simple ingredients: popcorn kernels, sunflower oil, and salt. Snacking never felt or tasted so good. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Give yourself permission to snack and pick up Skinny Pop Original Popcorn today.
Hey y'all, welcome to At the Table Podcast, a virtual table where we discuss all things young adulting. In today's episode, I will be talking about confidence and just doing it. Before I start, I know, can you hear my voice? It's a little raspy. I am sick. I feel like I'm always sick, but I am sick today. I traveled and it's been raining where I am. So I think like allergies and stuff has caught up to me, but I feel horrible. I feel like I was supposed to say I feel great. No, I don't. I feel horrible. My throat hurts, my eyes hurt, my head hurt. But here we are, thugging it through. What else will a girl do? But I'm really excited to be here talking to you guys. So it makes me feel a little better. Today I wanted to talk about confidence and just doing the dang on thing. The reason why is because, well, I think I need to hear this. I have fallen out of like the initial excitement of everything that I do, whether it be work or school or podcasting. I'm just in this place where I'm like, doing like, the monotonous things, the regular things, the things I'm ought to do. And I'm just sometimes struggling to move forward. And I think in this podcast, it's to encourage myself and other people who might be in this feeling, or who might even like just need motivation to get started on something. To just do it. I remember when I was first doing this podcast, or when I know that, and I'm not a Christian podcaster, you guys, but it's important for the rhetoric of this story that you understand the background of this podcast again. But before I had started this podcast, this very specific one, I had maybe about 2 or 3, and I know the Lord just kept laying it in my heart that I'm supposed to have a podcast, if not for me, but for everyone else. And if not for everyone else, but for me, right? And I had 2 before this one, and both of them were more Christian podcasts, and they just didn't feel like aligned. I felt like I wanted to be able to come to my podcast and this space and be me, not necessarily a Christian figurehead or a figurehead at all. Just come on here and talk and be me and talk about my struggles, and talk about my accomplishments, and not necessarily have it constantly viewed through the Christian lens. At that time, though, I was much more in my religious journey, my Christian, I should say religious journey, because it was more religiosity, but I was much more there. And that was my identity at the time. And that was great. I mean, well, not really, because the podcast didn't continue because it just felt like I was playing a character every time I would come on there. So those didn't continue. And at that point, when I had closed or stopped doing the second one, I had known that, well, I just thought that I was done. Like, I thought that was what God wanted me to do. God wanted me to start a podcast for Christians. And I did that. And even when I closed the second one, my heart just kept going back to the podcast, in the podcasting space. And I remember asking God, like, God, what do you want me to tell these people? Like, I don't know what to talk about. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to honor and serve you, like, not as overtly. Like, what do you want me to do? Why do you keep placing this on my heart? And I remember just a heavy, heavy, heavy burden falling on my heart at that point. Because I knew this was what I was supposed to do. In what capacity, I was unsure. How it was supposed to look, I was also unsure. But I knew that this was ultimately what I was supposed to do. So, I don't know. I feel like God just kicked me in the back. And I started the podcast. And I took it a day at a time. And look at us now. We are almost 2 years into podcasting. I've had more than 12 guests on the podcast. And we're doing the dang on thing. And I'm really, really proud of what I've made. Now, I say this story to say, one, for people who are trying to start something, you need to start it. Like, I know it might be hard. I know it might be intimidating. I know it might be scary. But do it while it's hard. Do it while it's intimidating. Do it while it's scary. Because you will grow from it. And it will grow itself. Time is the ultimate blessing. Because, like, naturally, as long as you give something time, it is bound to grow. And that is my mindset with everything. Like, this is especially the reason why this podcast is directly for young adults is because this rhetoric is so important that we are on the right side of time. If we start things now, if we start building in our gardens now, if we start planting seeds now, imagine what they will look like 50, 60 years down the line. And as long as everything goes well, we still have those 50, 60 years down the line. Whereas someone else that is 60, they don't have that much time up the road, you know? And I think that's a blessing. That is a blessing. And I don't want us to take it for granted. And no matter what that might be, whether it might be a podcast, whether it might be a degree that you're seeking, whether it might be a new career that you're looking into, whether it might be a new endeavor, I really want to encourage you to just do it. Just do it. I remember when I was in this place of just constantly thinking about, like, what is this podcast going to be? What is it going to look like? I remember God telling me so vividly, like, if no one's going to do it for you. Like, if you don't do it, nobody's going to do it for you. And that's the truth. I think sometimes we can get so complacent and we can be like, well, God's going to make it happen. It's going to happen for me. It's just going to come. And me personally, if you ask me and how I maneuver my religious walk with God, I don't believe that. I believe you do have to put in the work, but God has given you the grace to be able to do it. And also He's walked the path before you to make sure that it's clear. I also have different opinions on, like, I don't speak about God on here too much because my perspective on things is vastly different. I know that. But I believe that if there is something that God has put in your heart, He's putting it in your heart for a reason. And as long as that reason, you see that reason has a way of serving God, then you should go ahead and do it. That's what I believe, and that's what worked for me, and that's what I've seen over and over in my life. Like, the things that I've had a heavy burden for felt like it was God that was pushing me towards that direction. So what's in your heart that you really want to do, may it be the voice of God. Oh my goodness, I was speaking to a friend the other week, and I was talking about how when I would go running, I would listen to David Goggins, and he would talk about, like, the devil doesn't want you to win. The devil wants you to stop running right now. The devil wants you to, like, look back. The devil wants you to be embarrassed. The devil wants you not to succeed. The devil wants you to not make it far. Are you going to let the devil win? And I remember so vividly running and being like, no, I'm not going to let the devil win. So that he'd be like, so move your feet, keep running, keep going. And And I would move and keep moving and keep running and keep going because I wasn't going to let the devil win. And that's the orientation I take on with like everything, or at least I try to, right? Like, I'm being lazy, I'm procrastinating. Will I let the devil win? No, I won't. I'm not doing the work I'm supposed to do. I'm not reaching out to the people that I'm supposed to reach out to. I'm not following up with the people that I'm supposed to follow up with. That's the devil. Am I going to let him win? No, I'm not. It's really interesting that I'm able to like speak all of these things now, because I find that when I speak, sometimes I'm actually speaking to myself. And that's the thing. Like, I have a mountain list of to-dos that have been compulating for about maybe 3 or 4 weeks now that I just have not gotten done. It's ridiculous. It's insane. But it happens, like, we're not always productive. We're not always super disciplined. We don't always have it on 100%. And I think sometimes it's important to be able to not only see that and identify that, bro, I've been slacking, and truthfully, Fikayo has been slacking. I need to get back on it. But we have to be able to identify it. And that's why another reason why this podcast means so much to me. Because not only am I speaking to you guys, but I'm speaking to myself. I can't let the devil win. I've come so far with this podcast. I have built a beautiful, beautiful platform, and I need to continue to go forward in it. In as much as it's tiring or it's exhausting, or I don't feel like I'm seeing the fruits, or I can mentally kind of like make excuses, like no one's gonna miss it, no one's watching out for it, no one's listening. Like, in as much as I can say all of those things, or I can let the devil whisper all those things to me, I'm not gonna do that. It's hard, but I'm gonna keep pushing. I'm gonna keep going up, because again, we're on the right side of time. I say this to everyone. Again, like, this is very specific to me, because I know what I'm going through, but I know I've spoken to friends who want to start businesses, who want to start new careers, and this is what I tell them. This same rhetoric, these same ideas, these same thoughts are what I tell them. You just have to do it. No one is going to do it for you. Put yourself in those spaces, put yourself in that atmosphere. This is what adulting is. It is taking charge of your life and making sure you're making the best decisions for you. And I am in that place now where I am looking at everything. And I'm trying to make sure that I'm making the best decisions for me. It's hard though, I won't lie. Even now, as I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about it, there are other decisions that I need to make, and they're hard decisions. They're life-altering decisions. But as I was saying, like, you have to make the decision that's best for you. I have to make the decision that's best for Fikayo. And I think this is where the emphasis of God, like, really, really, really has to sit, because there's so many unknowns. And I don't know if I realized that a few years ago, or I could have even had a grasp on understanding how many unknowns there are. But like, adulting's scary, you guys. Like, when we were young, our parents made all of our decisions for us. Our parents told us yes or no. Our parents told us to go there or not go there, and that was from the experience they've gained in their however years or how many years of learning and experiencing things. And now I'm 24, and I'm making decisions for myself now. My parents basically kind of sort of have no say in what I do, if and only if I go out and I ask them for their advice. But they are not directly making the decisions for me. I'm making the decisions for myself based off of 24 years of living. I'm at a huge disadvantage. But it's also very interesting, because as I'm also going through life, right, I speak about it all the time, but the importance of mentors. I've been going to my mentors, and even just older trusted people in my life, and speaking to them about the things that I'm going through, or the decisions that I have to make, or the things that are sitting in front of me. And I have just realized that how they understand it is how It's how they advise me. And what I mean by that is every single person has a different experience from one another, and every single lesson is different. And in as much as like you might see some parallels, like fundamentally, right, what these two things that we're bringing to the table, they might sound the same. Let's use, for example, career. Let's say like these two career choices, let's say these two problems might sound the same. Let's say I'm having an issue with my career and I bring it up to my mentor, right? And she advises me. From where she's advising me from is not the exact position that I'm seated in. She might have a bit more networks than I have. So maybe she doesn't need that master's degree. Or she might, she might have, already known who she was going to marry. So she didn't need to make that much money. That type of thing. Like, no two situations are the same. So then even if I take that same issue that I'm going through, right, and I ask another mentor or another advisor in my life about what I should do concerning an issue, they're going to give me a whole different, a whole different advice based off of what they went through. But actually, it may not even be different advice. It could be the exact same advice, but it's coming from a whole different perspective, a whole different lens that you didn't even think about. And I think as I'm getting older, this is something I'm becoming more acutely aware of. And it's impressing me, but it's confusing me and it's scaring me. Because who do you actually listen to, right? Like, who do you actually trust? Who do you actually, lean into? Who do you actually allow to have that much power over you? And it's scary because at the end of the day, you're the one to bear the consequences. And this isn't even only over advisors, but like even friends. I've been going through things, and I don't know, I've just been asking more people in my life about some certain issues I've been trying to navigate, or things that I'm trying to work through. And every single person is different. The perspective is different. And I think in this season, this is what I'm learning. Just about life. And I'm just learning that everyone is different. You really just have to have a really strong relationship with yourself and a really strong relationship with God, I think, to be able to navigate your life on a broad scale. And I'm not saying a strong relationship with God in terms of religiosity or just being overtly Christian, but I really mean it in a deeper sense of you need to cultivate a relationship with God. And this is not a come to Jesus podcast. That's not me. It's not me. Go listen to a sermon for that. But I really say this in just it's inherent and it's in you. It's in you. You really need to tap into God to be able to navigate life. And you really need to tap into yourself as well. You really need to have a really strong relationship with yourself so that you can, move forward, so that you can do things, so that you can be encouraged. But I don't know, I really want to start saying good luck Charlie at the end of these episodes, because I really it's hard. It's really hard, and I don't think it gets easier, which is what scares me also. I really truly feel like a child, and I'm just the a whole new world. That's literally how I feel. I'm just, the awe, or I don't know how to explain it, but the feeling of a whoa, that the whole new world, that arc, a whole new world kind of has, that's what it is for me too. I promise you, it's I'm literally just rediscovering the world. I'm oh my goodness, this is what was on the other side of adulthood this is what was on the other side of childhood. This is insane. This is kind of crazy. I am literally just learning the world. And then when I feel like, I might have it under control and, I decide, okay, let me get married. You have a kid and then you have to decide what is right for them. And then you have to watch them be just so innocent children as you try to navigate the world as like an adult and plan for all the things and make sure that everything is stable and everything is steady. You guys, I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed. And it's like the small things, like the bills. Like, it's insane. It's the bills, it's the car stuff. I won't even tell you guys about my car because word on the street is Addie's tags have expired. But she's working through that. Allegedly. We don't know that for sure. It hasn't been confirmed. But like car stuff is another thing. Again, another thing that I just need to do. But yeah. I hope this was encouraging in some way or another. I'm not sure the depths of how encouraging it probably was. But just if anything, if you took anything from this conversation, I need it to be that we're going through this together, okay? You are not alone. I promise you, you're not alone. You're not alone. And I really appreciate you listening if you've made it this far. My name is Fikayo. You can follow the podcast at @thetable_pod. And you can follow me on Instagram at FIIKAYO. I love you bits to pieces, and don't forget to laugh really, 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 really loud and pray all the time. Goodbye.